Now, The Catalyst, with Christopher Dent.
This is The Catalyst, and I am Christopher Dent. The Catalyst is a podcast which highlights forward-thinking, community-minded people and organisations. Please like us on Facebook at The Catalyst, and if you'd like to share some feedback, email us on thecatalyst@outlook.com.au. Today on the show we have BMX National Titles commentator. He's an ideas man, car and bike enthusiast. He calls himself an average bloke, but he is far from average. Welcome to the show, Travis Pope.
Morning, Harry. How are you, mate?
I'm excellent, Travis. I'm excellent. I hear you've been up and already out and about in the morning air, so hopefully you're ready to go for our interview.
Yeah, Sunday morning bike ride in the sunshine up here in Queensland. It's been, I know we did about 35 k's this morning with the boys, so it was lovely.
Beautiful. So how are you keeping at the moment during the pandemic?
So we had a little bit of a slowdown, with work and cut time down. I never, as you know me, I never slow down. But, I've always got plenty to do. So, I think we're kind of lucky up here being in central Queensland. We haven't had it hit us as much. Everyone's put in the effort at work and in the community to make sure that we try and keep it at bay. And I think everyone's doing a really good job of that.
Yes.
It's kind of relaxed a little bit, but I think now after the school holidays, we were just talking about it before. I think we're waiting for the so-called second wave as people come back, because a lot of people from central Queensland will go down to Brisbane and all that sort of stuff. So, maybe. But I'm always busy, mate.
No, excellent. So, you were born in 1974, mum and dad, Daryl and Carol, with the older sister, Donna. Which schools did you attend?
Narre Warren Station Primary School, which unfortunately is no longer. That was pretty good. Fond memories of Narre Station, and still got a few mates that I talk to regularly that we went to school with and hung out with there down in Narre Warren. And then I had a 2-year stint for high school at Hampton Park Post Primary, which was probably interesting. It was a brand new school, so we were the first year in, and then we moved to Berwick. So I moved schools in year 8.
Okay.
Yeah.
When you were younger, much younger, what sort of odd jobs did you have when you were a kid growing up?
So always on a push bike. So I ended up, the natural thing. I think the natural progression was to deliver newspapers. So I did that for the local newsagent for a long time. And then having that Fountain Gate Shopping Centre nearby, I ended up being a trolley collector for a while. That was kind of fun because you always had the skateboard out the back of the trolley trailer. You wouldn't do it these days. But
yep.
We got away with it back then. And then, a couple of stints in supermarkets and things like that, which was good. It was good learning curve.
Yep. You went to Berwick Secondary College. How was that experience?
It was good. It was, lunchtime and recess and probably before school and after school was quite enjoyable. But the rest of it for me, school didn't really do it for me. I've always been a learner, a physical learner I like, or a tactile learner. So I learned by doing things, and sitting in a classroom didn't really do it for me. So, it was, I sort of got into year 11 and then decided one day that school wasn't for me. So, and I always sort of wanted an apprenticeship or a trade or something like that. I was always building things and doing stuff. So, that was the direction I tried to take.
Yeah. So what was your first full-time job after leaving school?
So interestingly enough, on the last day of school was a Friday, and Mum said to me, "How was school today?" And I said, "Well, I don't know, because I didn't go." And and to be honest, I'd never actually wagged school or never, not gone to school because without Mum, without being crook or faking being crook as you did when you were a kid. But and she said, "Oh, right." And I said, "Yeah, and I'm not going back. It's just not doing it." And she said, "Oh, all right." Eh? So I thought, Monday morning will be nice. I'll have a sleep in, and then I'll get the paper as you do, and try and, no internet in those days, try and get the paper and see if I can't find myself a job and something to do. And at 4:30 in the morning, there was a kick at the side of the bed, and a pair of overalls got thrown at me, and there was my dad, and he said, "Get them on, get in the car." So I thought, all right, eh? And I did that, and we were on the way there, and I said, "What are we doing?" And he said, "Well, if you're not going to school, you're going to work, so you're coming to work with me." And I said, I haven't got any lunch, Dad. And he said, well, that's not my problem. That's your problem. You should have thought of that. me dad being the bloke he was. So yeah, I ended up at Progress Press there, working on the printing lines, which is a big hurry up for me.
Yep.
But it was good. I learned a fair bit, and probably it just instilled in me that I wanted a trade, and that I loved the machinery, because all I wanted to do was work on the machinery and fix the stuff, not so much load the paper in and do all the bits and pieces that you're supposed to do.
Yeah. So you were talking about your dad. He made a big impression on you. How do you think that shaped you?
He probably taught me to be a bloke, I suppose, and to look after my mates and to do the right thing by people, and definitely instilled a work ethic in me, which, really proud to say both my kids have as well. Yes. We're from a working family, and he worked hard all his life, and probably that's the main thing. He always made it didn't matter if you're a crook, whatever you got up, you went to work, and he probably, when I think I was about 16 or 17, just after I sort of started working there with him, he actually had a brain hemorrhage, and
yes.
And we thought that was the end of him, and the doctors were like, oh, he's not going to walk again, and he's this is that can happen. Well, within 18 months, he was back working 60 hours a week, and that was his thing. If you didn't work 60 hours a week, did you actually go to work? Was his sort of.
Yeah,
so that's what he's doing.
Yeah, we're talking to Travis Pope. When did you fall in love with bike riding?
I think the first time I sat on one. Yep. Always loved it, and to me it was always a sense of freedom. And as you know, I'm a bit of a traveller, and I always want to know what's over the next hill. And to me, at the start, it was a form of transport. Yep. And then, I just, still now today, even this morning, I get on my road bike and go riding, and it's just a sense of freedom, and I love it. And it's all sorts. I never saw myself as I was always a BMX kid. Always rode BMX and raced BMX, and I never sort of saw anything past that. I never thought I'd be the type of bloke, late 40s wearing lycra and road riding and stuff. But I'm doing that now, and I've got to say it's super enjoyable. And the boys I was riding with this morning are talking about going to Kiama and doing some 180k race and that next year or later in the year. So
fantastic!
I might suck them into that as well.
How did you get involved in BMX?
Well, I think back in the what I'm going to say, late 70s, early 80s, it was pretty popular, and we had a local club, and I was reasonable rider on the bike, and that was the kind of sport I wanted to do. Mum and Dad always encouraged sport, and my mum was the type of person that always got involved in everything, and she got involved in the BMX club, and we had a pretty good little club down there, and I've still got, that's 40 years ago now, and I've still got mates on Facebook and stuff that I talk to, and that I rode bikes back then, and we sort of got involved, and I raced BMX everywhere all over Victoria until I was maybe 12 or 13, and then I sort of, being an individual sport, it's one of those things. It becomes too individual.
Yes.
So I sort of dropped it, and then I went and played footy for a few years, and unfortunately, I never went back and raced as I got older. Okay. I sort of had a few goes here and there, and then I sort of dropped it, and then you get a car, and then what's a bike?
Yeah,
once you get a car, and then what even? How does that bike even work? And then when the kids sort of started riding bikes around, my daughter McKinley's a bit of a natural on the bike, and I sort of raised the topic of, hey, maybe we should go back and race BMX, which Anna the Lovely laughed at, and then we all ended up racing. So yeah.
So family did compete in BMX. So you've got them involved in that.
Yeah. So I started riding with the kids, and then Anna decided she'd better off riding than having a race and working in the canteen. So she started riding as well. So she has a ride. We're still laughing with her this morning because I've got a road bike I've been trying to get her out on. I've got a mountain bike and a road bike. As you know, I've probably got about 20 plus bikes in the shed. But and 3 of them are hers that she doesn't use very much. But, you can only keep trying.
No, that's right.
But she gets out and does a few rides every now and then.
And the commentating on BMX, how did that come about?
So I've got a great mate, Shane Jenkins, who's an old school BMXer, and the track in his backyard at King Lake, and he started a BMX Supercross race in a series every January. They have a track attack series in Melbourne, which is 6 races over. So it's Saturday, Sunday, Tuesday night, Thursday night, and Saturday, Sunday again. So it's a pretty full week of racing, and people come from everywhere. He created a race in his backyard on the Monday, and it was a bit of a relaxed thing at the start, and it was for the Royal Children's Hospital in Melbourne, and it was just all proceeds go to that, and we'd auction plates and do all that sort of stuff. So I sort of rocked up to the second one of that, and he said to me, well, you talk a lot, you can probably do this. So he gave me the microphone, and it sort of started from there, and then from there I started doing commentating at races, and we found something that I really enjoyed, so I sort of emceed that day and did so for 4 or 5 years until we moved up here. And I used to commentate a couple of 100 races every Sunday, or Saturday night or Friday, whenever they were. And loved it. I loved it, and I still do. I'll still do when they have their open events up here in Gladstone or thereabouts. They give me a call and say, "Can you come down and commentate?" Which is really nice. It's funny when you a couple of thousand k's from home, and someone goes, "Oh, I know you, aren't you that commentator bloke?" Yeah.
That's brilliant. No, that's brilliant. Okay, guys, stay tuned. We'll be back after the break with our segment, 5 questions, 1 word. Welcome back. We're talking to Travis Pope. This is our segment, 5 questions, 1 word. Okay, Travis, we're going to ask you 5 questions and we'd like a 1-word answer. Okay, the first one is your favourite movie.
Oh, I would have liked preparation. I'm going to say Lethal Weapons.
Yep.
Not 1.
Okay, what's your worst household chore?
The dishes.
Yeah.
I like to cook and I hate the dishes part.
I think everyone's the same on that. You're okay with the dishes. What's your favourite food you put on the dishes?
I like to cook lots, and I'm struggling with 1 word. I'm going to say roasts.
Yep. And bike riding in 1 word.
Freedom.
Oh yeah, love that. And the last one, which this is one. Okay, what irritates you the most?
The cold.
Cold weather?
That's why I live in Queensland now, mate.
Yeah, well, you don't have cold up there. I think your cold is our summer. With the I assume with the challenges of COVID-19 pandemic, what's been the most frustrating and hardest thing that you've had to overcome?
Well, sort of like I said at the start, we've been really lucky. It hasn't, it's not. I feel real sorry for all you guys down in Victoria of how hard you guys have had it. That the lockdown side of it doesn't really bother me because, as you know, I love my shed, and I could, if they locked me down for 2 weeks, I'd find plenty to do or whatever. I think the thing that's frustrated me the most is the media and the toing and froing. There's no real answer, and it just seems to be going this way, that way, up and down and round and round, and that's kind of frustrating to me. Yeah,
I think it's the way it's been working. We don't know where it's going to go and what is going to happen. Early days, especially, and I think they weren't really sure, and are sort of. Hopefully, we're starting to get on top of it now, and we should be moving forward. It's our health is most important thing, So, with what you're saying, with the thing, what are you doing work-wise at the moment? We haven't actually discussed that yet. Where are you working at the moment, and what are you doing?
So I work for an industrial services company. I'm a project manager. So originally, I did my trade as a fitter and machinist, toolmaker at Bosch down there in Westall.
Yep.
But now, so I've done a lot of different jobs. That sort of trade was the best thing I ever did. Was probably building on from the leaving school and the old man kicking the bed at 4:30 in the morning was. Yeah, the trade was the best thing I ever did because it's taken me all over the country and different places in the world. So now I manage crews of blokes on projects, decontamination stuff, flushing stuff, high pressure water blasting, and all that sort of gear. And there's a lot of it up here in the Gladstone region. There's a lot of industry, so it's good.
Yep.
Plenty of work.
Terrific. You love your cars. What cars have you had?
How long's the podcast?
It's a big
Well,
list.
I've had lots of.
What are the most memorable cars that you've had?
I think I've had memorable cars. I've had fast cars. I've had all sorts of cars, but I think the one that means the most to me is the one that's sitting in the shed now, which is me grandpa's 1965 Rolls Royce, which I'll be driving to the surf club later on for lunch. But it's so that's pretty special to me because he loved it, and if I was going to buy a classic car, a Rolls is not the car I would buy, but a lovely car just the same. So I've had lots of different rotaries, RX3s and 7s and 2s, and I've got a pretty fast Falcon that sits in the shed as well, which I don't drive enough as well. And I'm pretty spoilt with my toys. I've got a Harley as well, which doesn't get ridden anywhere near enough. But definitely that roller is it's just an awesome car. You can't drive it without smiling, and you never want to go fast in it. So it's good,
Cruiser.
And I think of me pa every time. Every time I get in it, I think of him and how much he loved it, and so that'll forever stay in the family. And
that's
the boy Cooper's got his dibs on that one.
Yeah, fantastic. Now with your vehicles, give us a rundown of the travels in the bus. I remember the bus many years ago when you're fitting it out, and before you headed off, your travels in the bus. Where did that take you?
So we did a lot of work, a lot of stuff for BMX was good. The bus was always good because you could just camp at the track. But we took it all the way up to Cairns, across the Gulf and Mount Isa, and then up to Darwin. And we lived in the bus in Darwin for 12 months, and then down the centre, and then back home. And then it sort of sat there, and I did a refit on it and took the old diesel engine out of it and put a big block Chev in it, which it has now. And then we sort of when work sort of slowed down in Victoria, and that was I always been a traveller, and Anna's a traveller, and we just decided the kids were at the right age before high school that we should go and find where we wanted to live, and it brought us to here in Gladstone. Gladstone wasn't the intended place, but there was plenty of work here, and we fell in love with it, and we got a beautiful little spot right on the river, Boyne Island. So it's taken us all over the place, and it'll continue to do so. So that's the future planning is to put it back in the driveway and give it a refit, and then in a few years when the kids are all up and about and doing their own thing, Anna and I are going to go and do some full-time travel again in it.
Oh, that's terrific. We're talking to Travis Pope. We're just talking about your family, your partner Anna, and the two kids, McKinley and Cooper. They've all had a big influence on you. Can you explain that to us?
Yeah, so should we let the cat out of the bag and say that my lovely partner Anna is actually your younger sister?
Yeah, that's
way better looking than you too, I might add. She's everything to me. She's the whole world. But we've not only the love of my life, she's my best friend as well. So I'm a pretty lucky guy. She lets me get away with pretty much everything. Of course we've got the kids. McKinley, who's 18 now, and is wants to follow in my footsteps and actually get a trade and be a fitter. So that's what we're trying to do it now. She's in year 12, and Coop's in year 11. He's a pretty cool dude. He wants to do something in medicine, I think. So he's madly studying in year 11 to get some really good grades, and I think he'll go off to uni, which will be a great achievement too.
Oh, terrific! That's terrific. You were talking about the bus and you're travelling around. You've seen a lot of Australia. What made you settle down in Queensland?
So I love the weather. The weather here is just phenomenal, and also it's a place of where there's always work here in Gladstone, especially if you've got a trade or anything like that. Yeah. When we came up, there was 3 big gas plants getting built on Curtis Island, and lucky for me, 2 of my old apprentices who I'd had in Darwin were working on the project, and one of them, his dad was the big boss. So his dad said, well, you better come and work for me. My son reckons you're all right. So that's how I got on there, and I ended up the mechanical commissioning superintendent. So I started train 2 there at QGC, which was a pretty big job.
Yes.
And then, went and did the maintenance stuff, and then I've gone changed because working on an island, you got to catch a boat all the time, so you can't just go. Anyway, I'm knocking off early today to go to the dentist. You got to, catch the ferry, and after about 5.5 years, it got a bit old, so I'll do sort of mainland job, so to speak. But I still work over there. We'll forever keep this house. It's a beautiful place and a beautiful spot, but yeah, we definitely still have that thirst to travel the country, because I think I could travel from now until the end of time, and I still wouldn't see every place. It's just too nice.
Yeah. We're talking to Travis Pope. Now to our segment, the top three. This is one that's centered around yourself. Hey, Travis Pope's top 3 Australian travel destinations. Okay, your top 3 destinations. Number 3 is.
Well, places that I've been to, which I've really loved. Alice Springs and Uluru and all through there, and the McDonald Ranges. Yep, beautiful. Ridiculously, it's just an eerily beautiful place, and I have not spent anywhere near enough time there. Number 2.
Yeah, I've got to wind it up here. Ready? This is how we wind it up. Travis Pope's number 2 travel destination is.
Well, there's a lot I haven't seen, so I just don't want to.
It's at the moment. It's at the moment what you've done.
Number 1, I enjoyed Cape York, and that area was fantastic. Although that was a long, long time ago now. It's it was 20 plus years ago. Anna and I first went up the Cape, but I haven't managed to get back there yet. So that north eastern side of Australia is magic.
And Travis Pope's number 1 travel destination is?
So this is the easiest one to do. And I don't want to tell anyone about it because I don't want to flood the place, but it's a place in northwestern Queensland called Lawn Hill National Park, and it is heaven on earth. It is the most beautiful place you'll go to, and we were lucky enough to go back there last September. We went and took the paddle boards, and it's a big gorge system and beautiful water and waterfalls, and it's about 7 kilometres of gorge. So we went and paddle boarded that. It was magic. I've been there probably half a dozen times, and I was almost going back again in a couple of months, but we'll see how we go.
Yeah, that sounds beautiful. You've actually had a bit of an impact in the local community up there. Can you explain how you got into jiu-jitsu?
Yeah, so, Cooper, my son, did always like your kids to do a sport, and he struggled to find. He did a bit of BMX when he was younger, and not the most competitive kid in the world, but he just enjoyed it. It was always, everything's fun for Coop. So we got him into, said, you're in high school, you need to do a sport. So he went and did Muay Thai kickboxing in town, and did really well. Got to almost grading for a black belt, and then sort of started talking about wanting to be a doctor or do something medicine. And I said, mate, Muay Thai is not the greatest thing to sport to be doing that. If you're doing, getting punched in the head's never great. And as you're getting older, 15 or 16, they want you to go into adults, and then you get hit a lot harder. And around that time, a young guy had just started a jiu-jitsu club down here in Tannum or Boyne.
Yes. And
we jumped on board, and Coop and I were his first student. So really proud of that fact. And we started in his shed, and then he moved up to the library, and it's just got bigger and bigger. And now we've got a gym, it'd be the most picturesque gym in Australia. I think you're up on a second story you look out the windows and look straight out over the beach. It's magic.
Wow.
So, shout out to Dom and the crew at Tannum Jiu-Jitsu. So we're all doing that. McKinley does a little bit of it. Anna's hooked on it, so she's doing a couple of nights a week now and wants to get better at it because it's a really good sport. It's the hardest thing I've ever done. And it's one of those things that if you've got a busy life and a busy job, it's great. You can think about nothing else but jiu-jitsu because the dude on top of you is trying to kill you.
Yep.
It tends to draw your attention. And
I
love it.
He's very disciplined.
Yeah, great discipline. So,
Now, this is you've started up with your love of bike riding. You've also started a bike riding club up in Gladstone.
Yeah,
can you explain that?
We loosely call it a club. So we've got Friday night rides up here, and it was basically just it started with myself and a couple of guys that I used to ride around with, and it sort of centered a little bit on the men's mental health,
yes.
Because I think back in the day, you know, your dad or your grandpa would go to the pub and have a few beers and talk to his mates and all that. Well, that doesn't really seem to happen anymore. It doesn't. Life seems to move too fast to have that. And you know, I'm not a drinker. I don't even drink at all anymore. But so we started Friday night rides, and we meet up on the corner, and so it's twofold. It's one, we get to get out and exercise, and we've got a plethora of unreal mountain bike trails around within 400 metres of a house. So I'm pretty lucky there. So I think we've got, you know, started the Facebook page. There's about 150 people on the Facebook page, and we go and do a ride for an hour and a half, and then we go to the surf club down the front at Tanham and have a beer and have a laugh. And, you know, if anyone's got a drama, they shout out and we help each other out. And it's become really good. I've made some great mates out of it. And, you know, just it's great to pull up on the corner at Friday night at 5 o'clock and just see who rolls up. But sometimes, you know, there's 5 of you and sometimes there's 25 of you.
Yes.
And we get down there and it, you know, we put money over the bar at the surf club as well. So that always helps them out and have a feed down there. And so we, like, some of the blokes like to say they're drinkers with a riding problem, but yeah, we have a great time, and it's just, and I've made some great mates out of it, and it just continues on, and it's one of those things that all the boys know that if they want to go for a ride, 5 o'clock on the corner, someone's going to be there for a ride and a chat, you know.
Yep.
So it's going to be deeper than that. Good.
Yeah, I think when you're talking about the mental health with males especially, I think it's a fantastic idea, and there's probably not enough of it. It is growing, those sort of things, but that is a brilliant club to have, and I think just like you said, that these things are few and far between, and we should be pushing these sort of things. So well done, that's fantastic. I'd just like to say thank you so much to Travis. It was a great sharing your story today. We wish you all the best, and just a huge thank you to our guest, BMX commentator, car and bike enthusiast, all-round great guy, Travis Pope.
Thanks, Harry.
Thanks, mate. Thank you so much. The Catalyst is a podcast which highlights forward-thinking, community-minded people and organisations. Please like and follow us on Facebook at The Catalyst. If you'd like to send some feedback, please email us on thecatalyst@outlook.com.au. Thanks for joining us. This is The Catalyst, and I am Christopher Dent. Brought to you by CanDo Digital Production House. See you next time.